Ajavayaha, Aja Meshadayaha. Now, as he says this Aranyan, Gramya, Ashva, now comes the point of Jnanam, because all this has come, knowledge has to come, right? So he says, Tasmad Yajnat Sarvahutaha Richas Samani Jagnire. Now comes the knowledge in the form of sound, which later gets translated and transposed into sentences called Rik, Yajuhu and Samam. So he says, Chaturmukhasya Manasi Yagat Richaha. Rigvedasya Ekavimshati Shakha. Ekavimshati Shakha. What is that number? Very good. Ekavimshati Shakha. For Rigvedam, there are 21 Shakas. Samani. Samavedasya Sahasra Shakascha Jagnire Utpannaha. 1,000 Shakas, 1,000 branches of quintessential knowledge of Samaveda was born. Next. Tasmat Chaturmukhat Chandamsi Gayatriadini Jagnire Utpannani. Yajuhu Ekottarashata Yajushakha Utpannaha. Ekottarashatam. Very good. 101 shakhas of Yajurveda were born. 101 shakhas of Yajurveda, 21 shakhas of Rig, 1,000 of Samam. What happened to Atharvam? Lecture 1, 25th minute. I told you. I said Vedas can be counted as 2 or 3 or 4. You can treat only Rigvedam and Yajurvedam as 2 Vedas. Rigvedam, when rendered in a musical form, becomes Samavedam. The essence of Rig, Yajuhu, Samam becomes Atharvana Vedam. So it can be 2, 3 or 4. So when 3 are mentioned, you should not ask why it is discrimination against Atharvana Veda. What will Atharvana Veda feel? It will not feel anything because it is there in the first 3 Vedas. Now, Samavedani, Tasma Chaturmukha Chandamsi. Now, when I say all these shakhas came, there may be a small doubt. Sir, do you mean to say that books were automatically born? That is where we are wrong. The knowledge associated with the mantras came, but the mantras were deciphered and discovered by the rishis later. See, for example, simple example that many of them give. The word oxygen was coined in some 1547. What were we breathing before that? The name oxygen was given in 1547. What were we breathing before that? Oxygen only. But it didn't have a namam. See, the same thing is applied for Sanatana Dharma. The word Hindu came in 1776 by William Jonas. Then what were we before? The name is given, but the civilization existed. The concept, what we breathed in, existed. Similarly, the mantras existed in a raw state. They were made into proper mantras by the insertion of the letters, the words and the panktis through the knowledge of rishis later. That is why for every kandam, every particular mandalam in Rigveda, we will have a rishi. For example, let's take Gayatri. We will have Vishwamitra as a rishi. It doesn't mean before Vishwamitra, nobody recited Gayatri mantra. You're able to get that. So the concept of Gayatri mantra was formalized and presented like a research paper by Vishwamitra later. But the concept existed even before him. So he's called mantra drashta. The mantra is there. It was seen and envisioned in the mind of Vishwamitra later. So all these chandas were born. Now, if you remember from lecture 1, I have been trying as much as possible to relate every mantra to a temple that we know very close. And I also gave an explanation why we are relating. We related to certain Divyadeshams called Tirukkannapuram, Kanchipuram, then we associated with Guruvayur, so on and so forth. Now, there is a deity whom we are going to associate this particular mantras with. It is Hayagriva. Vedanta Deshika puts this in the form of a shloka. He says, Samahara Samnam, Pratipadam Rucham, Dhama Yajusham, Layaf Pratyuhanam, Lahari Vitatir Bodha Jaladehe. He says, when the horse, which is Hayamukha, Vajivaktra, Hayagriva neighs, neighing is the sound of a horse, like barking for the dogs, meowing of the cats, neighing is of the horse. In Tamil, it is called Kanaital. So when the horse neighs, he says, when the Lord assumes the form of Ashwamukha and neighs, his neighing sounds to me like the mantras of Rig Yajuhu Samam. Samahara Samnam. Pratipadam. Rucham. Rucham means Rigvedam. Dhama Yajusham. Yajus. Layaf Pratyuhanam Lahari Vitatir Bodha Jaladehe. Katha Darpak Shubhyat Kathakakula Kola Halabhavam. Haratu. As I keep listening to the neighing of the special horse called as Hayagriva of Narayana, Haratu, may that be taken away. What should be taken away? Antardhvantam Hayavadana Hesha Hala 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 Ha. So he says, how is that sound? Hala Hala Ha. See, this, we are a very unique civilization. We go by sounds as well. In the Puranas, when the Lord emerged as Varaha, Varaha is also responsible for knowledge. He's called Jnana Piran. So when he does the sound, Puranam says, Gur Gur. Vedanta Deshika says, Ghona Ravair Gur Guraihi. Gur Gur in that sound is a sound associated with the Yagam. Please remember this. Whenever we do Yagam, in certain Yagams, we use certain sounds. Bhoom Bhat Swaha Bhat Fat. You've heard of these sounds. You may be wondering, what is this Bhat? One is cooking. What is that Bhat? What is this Fat? In Tamil, Fat Fattu Vesara. Bhat. What is this Bhat Fat? These are all sounds associated with the Yaga Shastra. With Yagam we do. There are certain yagas which we have known in our Puranas, which is done for the destruction of the other person. Can we use yagam like that? Why knife can be used for any purpose, right? So there are certain yagas which is called Abhichara Yagam. Abhichara Yagam means generally you don't use it for a good purpose. Some family to get destroyed, somebody to get destroyed, business to get destroyed. That time Shastram says you have to use words like Chindi, Bhindi. These are all the words that will come. So these are all sounds. So when Varaha did the sound of Gur Gur Gur, immediately Marichi, a rishi, was able to sense the sound of Yagam in that Pandri, in that Varaha. Similarly, Hala Hala Ha, Vedanta Deshika says, when the horse neighs, it neighs in the form of Hala 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 Hala. In Sanskrit, you have to Hala Hala Ha, you have to split it as two words, Hal and Ahal. Hal and Ahal means vowels and consonants. So when the horse neighs, Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmalasphatikakritim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam. When the horse neighs, you get knowledge. I don't know why they gave this in English. If you want to get the truth from somebody, they'll say, let it come from the horse's mouth. You heard somewhere he must have done Hayagriva Aradhanam. So Chandagumsi Jagnire Tasmat. Now, let me explain this Rik for a few more minutes. In the Yaksha Prashnam, we are in Purusha Suktam. We are now going to go to Mahabharatam, Bharata Panchamo Vedaha. We are going to go to the fifth Vedam. In Yaksha Prashnam, I've told you how many questions are there? 120. You are very close. You give one discount. 124. Okay, very good, very close. So 124 questions are there in Yaksha Prashnam. To drink water, Yaksha has to answer 124 questions. I will rather die thirsty. 124 questions, even if you commit one mistake, you can't drink. What is this negative marking? So 124 questions he answers. And Yaksha is very smart. At the end of about 60th question, he will say, Yudhishthira, you're doing very well. See, generally we tell our children also, right? It is going very well. I have to ask you every now and then in my lecture also, how is it going? So, it is going very well. As he says, he will also give one challenge to Yudhishthira. He will say, I'm so impressed with you, Yudhishthira. You can make one of your brothers alive. Answer. Yudhishthira will say, no. You ask more questions, I will answer. Because had I been in that position, okay, let's give life to Arjuna. Arjuna, aa jao beta. Then the other three would have died. But Yudhishthira is very smart. He'll say, until I get that word from you that I will make all your brothers alive, I will keep answering. Finally, the questions were exhausted. So in that, there are 4 questions. Kimekam yajniyam sama. Of the yajnas, which is treated as sama? That is one question. Because we had here, the previous mantra was Tasmad yajnat sarvahutaha richaha samani jagnire. So there is rik and there is samam. So the question is, Kimekam yajniyam sama. One question. Kimekam yajniyam yajuhu. Tell me one yajur. Tell me one sama. Tell me one yajur. Kachaisha vivrunute yajnam. Which should be embraced? Which yajna should be embraced completely? Kam yajno nati vartate. What is that from which nobody can escape? These are the 4 questions. Let's see what Yudhishthira says. Kimekam yajniyam sama. What is that one sama? Prano vai yajniyam sama. What is prana? Breath. Life force. Now, like how Purusha in the first 3 mantras means? Next mantra? When it becomes the goat? So the same Purusha changes, right? Similarly, prana here means gas, air. Whatever fills the body, that is called prana. That is why in Tamil movie song there is one Katradaitha Payyada. When they talk about the body, they say Katru Adaitha Pai. It's like a balloon. It is filled with some gas. That is called prana. Next, Kimekam yajniyam yajuhu. What is that one yajus? Manovai yajniyam yajuhu. Manas is that yajus. Kachaisha virunute yajnam. What is that one yajnam which has to be embraced? The answer is rig eka. One rig has to be embraced. What is that one rig? That is called Gayatri. The answer is not told as Gayatri, but rig eka. That one rig means in Shastram Gayatri. So, this 4 Vedas, their birth, their importance comes till Mahabharatam. What about Ramayanam? There is one place. Hanuman meets Rama for the first time. He is not one childhood friend. All the serials are all bluffing. They will show one small Hanuman, they will show one small Rama, they will meet in some Lal Bagh or Kaban Park, then they will get separated, Rama would have come. All this is not there in the Ramayana. That may be good for the children, but there is a harm in that also. Just to get rid of our children, we will keep some serial, some video. And the child doesn't know the authenticity of that video. And the child will believe in it completely. Now you have made the child accustomed to that video for the last 10 years after Wheels on the Bus rhyme. Now if I tell this has not happened, the child will not believe me. No. In that little Krishna they showed. In that Chota Bheem they showed. See, there are barely 4 or 5 shlokas in the Mahabharata that describes Bhima in his young age. Beyond that, there is no Chota Bheem at all. Always he was Bada Bheem only. But the sadness is we ourselves are facilitating our children to learn the knowledge which is not authentic. The point is, Hanuman has never met Rama before Rama approaches Hanuman in Kishkindha Kandam, which is the second half of Ramayana. Now, Rama comes. As Hanuman sees Rama and Lakshmana, when I say Rama, it means Lakshmana as well. Hanuman talks of a few shlokas. He says, Manushau Devarupinau, Padmapatrikshanau Virau, Jatamandala Dharinau, Anyonya Sadrishau Virau, Devalokadihagatau. This is the shloka, if I remember roughly. These are the 2 shlokas. Hanuman says, Padmapatrikshanau Virau. Those 2 warriors that I see in front of me have lotus petal like eyes. Padma Patrikshanau Virau. Dvivachanam. 2 of them. Jata Mandala Dharinau. Both of them have tied their jata. Now, what about their face? That will have beard. Don't ask me why it is not mentioned. When there is jata, it means it has to be beard also. See, if he has not gone to the barber to get his hair cut, neither he would have got his shave also done. Isn't that obvious? See, Ramayana assumes that we are intelligent, what to do. So, jata mandala dharinau. Anyonya sadrishau virau. See, Hanuman has been so intelligent. He says these two people are inseparable. He has never moved with them. Anyonya sadrishau virau. Devalokadihagatau. They look as if the divine has come as human. He's meeting Rama for the first time. And look at his assessment of Rama and Lakshmana. He tells all this. Now, after listening to Hanuman, Hanuman did not give a long speech. Great speakers don't speak for 2 hours. Only mediocre people keep talking. So, he spoke just 2 shlokas. Rama listens to this patiently. Every time, wherever I go, I love this particular place where Rama and Hanuman meet. It's even more romantic than how he met Sita. How Hanuman as a bhakta was able to gauge his Swami. It is a beautiful incident. Now, Rama listens to this patiently. See, in Rama's mind, as such, he was worried. His wife is being kidnapped. He doesn't know where is that location, Lanka, how many yojanas it is from here, where to meet the new coalition partners. Nothing he knows. He is already very occupied. But he is meeting Hanuman. In those few seconds, he was able to gauge who Hanuman was. And he turns towards Lakshmana and says, Lakshmana, in my 38 years of existence, correct, 38 years, what age he was married? 12. Roughly 12. See, when I say 12, it is around the 11th year, few months. I'm not getting into the specifics. Sita was 6. He had completed 24, and on the 25th, which is that 25th year, Chaitra Masam Punarvasu, on his birthday, he left to the forest. This was his father's gift. Chaitra Punarvasu, he left to, he was announced of his exile, and Chaitra Pushya, he left to the forest. Then 13 years of stay, in the 14th year only all these incidents happened. So you can roughly assume he was 13 and a quarter or 13 and a half when he came to Karnataka. He says, in these many years of my existence, Hanuman, I have never ever come across a speaker who is as adept as this man. For which he tells one list of about 12-13 shlokas. In that there is one shloka. Nanrigveda vinitasya. Na yajurveda dharinaha, na samaveda vidushaha, shakyamevam prabhashitum. No one, look at the words, it's na anrigveda vinitasya. See, there are 2 negatives in this sentence. Na anrigveda vinitasya. So, no person who has not read the Rigveda can have this quality in him, which means even if you have completely learned the Rigveda and has had a quality out of it, you still cannot match Hanuman. Nan-Rigveda vinitasya, vinayam. That humility. As you complete Rigvedic study, you get humility. Rigvedeshu vinitasya shikshitasya. Yadva prativarnaswara bhuyatvame mano niyama anena savadhanocharyatvad Rigveda vinitayet ityuktihi. So by having Rigvedam, the quality that you develop is vinayam. Even a person who is adept in Rigveda and developed a quality called Vinayam, that person's Vinayam cannot match the Vinayam of Hanuman. You're able to get that quality? Nan-Rigveda vinitasya. Na ayajurveda dharinaha. For Yajurveda, what do we get? He says, Ekaika anuvake anuvakarantakhyadi sankaryena dharanasya dushkaratvad Yajurveda dharina ityuktam. So by learning Yajurveda thoroughly under an acharya, what you get is dharinaha, dharana shakti. See, you will become very adept. When you are practicing maths very well, you should be able to tell. Differential calculus, 3rd question, the answer is in page number 96 last. That is how memory should be. See, if we say, what is the use of this? Imagine, I'll give you normal instances. We go to a doctor. Doctor has asked us to undergo a lot of tests. They see the report and then they say the good cholesterol is a bit low. You have to exercise. Bad cholesterol is very high. Then you take this particular medicine. Then BP you have to control. Take this particular medicine. I think you have got a bacterial infection. Take this particular antibiotic. Along with that, you have to take this probiotic. All this they will tell. That time, as that person writes, the doctor, the he or she, as they write, they will tell you. They'll tell, this one is morning, evening, before food. This one is after food. This one you have to take it after you apply this. Your memory should be so sharp that you don't ask, doctor, please, can you repeat again? Now doctors have become very smart. What they do is they have another assistant. He'll say, you go out, that assistant will explain. So dharana shakti is not about taking special time out of your time to remember. As you hear, you should remember. That is called dharana shakti. If you give me 10 days, I by heart, mere watan ke logo, mere watan ke logo, mere watan ke logo, zara aankh mein bhar lo pani, zara aankh mein bhar lo pani. That is not dharana shakti. Dharana shakti should be photographic. If you go to a sthalam, you go to 10 temples. If I tell you in the third temple what you saw, you should be able to tell, no, he's called Appakudattan, he reclines on this with a Marakkal. Seventh temple, what we saw, it is being sung by Tirumangayalvar in his seventh Tirumudi. That is how we should develop our memory. This is how our ancestors were used to. That is why we never had book publishing houses. Today, anybody can write a book, anybody can publish a book. Why? Because we don't have to remember what we write. See, you go ask the same author what they have written. Appriya, we will know more about their book. Because as you write, you don't remember. You feel you have already puked. You have thrown. But dharana shakti is about remembering. We should take every effort, whether be it in food, whatever exercise, that what they call, what is that, mind mapping. All that mind mapping and all we have to do. Of course, we didn't have such terms in the past. If you ask an acharya of those days, how do you manage to remember so many shlokas? Now we have that concept, 4 days workshop on mind mapping. They'll tell you, take one object, grasp it in your eyes, now take one object, remember all this, they'll say. See, now we have become experts in coming up with theories which are very simple. Actually, simple things will come up. I was asked to recently speak in some conclave. So I was asked to talk about Ram Mandir. I said Rama is Bhakti personified. This is how Valmiki is described. There was some amount of attention. Another person came. He had no idea about Rama or Ramayana. But the way he spoke, Rama is a momentum. He is an energy. He is a velocity. I didn't know whether I was looking at is it some physics class? Momentum, velocity, energy. See, today we have become, if I say Rama is attainable through bhakti, then I'm a person who has had flunked in academics. It means I have had no other choice in my life to choose a profession. I'm using words like bhakti, Vedas, Vedanta. I'm quoting from the scriptures. Well, I just change my... Well, the voice has to get baritone. And there needs to be a certain accent that needs to be put on. And as I speak about momentum and velocity and mass and acceleration, trust me, I will have 1 lakh people listening to me. We have become, we as audience feel there is content only when you speak in such high scientific terms. Words like bhakti, murti, vigraham, these are all words which are all, very second, third grade words. We can't use words like bhakti. If I say Bhadrachala Ramadas developed a bhakti, nobody will call me. He developed a certain taste. What taste? So, the point that I'm trying to make is, dharana shakti is remembrance. That's all. And it is not about working entirely to remember. That means you are not having dharana shakti. Dharana Shakti should be like this. You should tell which minute, which moment. That is how our ancestors have practiced. That is the USP of Sanatana Dharma. We should not leave that. Don't export it to your mobiles. They should not remember. Then moksha mobile will only get. We will not get. So, Hanuman. See, this is how my time goes away. Ekai Hanumagena Dharana Ityuktam. Rama says, see, if you learn Yajurveda and develop a Dharana Shakti, it still cannot match what this man has. Next, Na Samaveda Vidushaha. So, Uharasya Uha Rahasyadi Garbhita Gana Visheshanudir Vigneyatvat Samaveda Vidushaha. See, these are all nuances. When certain people speak, you will know that this speaker has a soft corner or has some level of adeptness in dance. The way they use the mudras, the way they look at you, they will have some association with dance. Some people, when they articulate and go up, you will know that they have some affiliation to music. They don't have to sing and display the talent to you. When Rama was speaking, Hanuman recognized the greatness of his adeptness in dance, it seems. Sir, Rama in dance, ye kahan hua tha? Right? In Ayodhya Kandam, when Dasharatha says that I have decided to make Rama the heir apparent, he asks all his ministers, most of them educated. So they were all telling what quality Rama had in him to be the heir apparent. That time there's one shloka, Vaiharikaha, Rama is very adept in dance, which means Rama as a king will be a patron of arts. See, to become a king in those days, you had to relish arts. Krishna Devaraya fought wars. On one side, he wrote Amukta Malyada. You can't imagine a person who's fighting on the Yuddham writing a Shringara Kavyam. Because they were all adept in dance. Swati Tirunal. He wrote the best of the Kritis. So in those days, rulers were extremely valorous. But they had a great affiliation to art. So when we depict Rama, see, if you look at Rama, Ram Lalla was a bit different because he's straight. He looks straight, right? Whereas if you look at Rama in the south of India, be it Hiremagaluru, Vaduvur, wherever, he will stand in a dance pose. It will be a Tribhangam. One foot will be bent, the hip will be bent. It's called Tribhangam. Because he's adept in dance. Most men had a certain nuance in dance. So all these nuances, who can know? Only a person who's adept in Samavedam. So that person is called Vidwan. Na Samaveda Vidushaha. So Rama says, even a person who has mastered the Samaveda and calls himself a Vidwan cannot match the Vidvat of this person. Nandrigveda Vinitasya, na Yajurveda Dharinaha, na Samaveda Vidushaha, Shakyamevam Prabhashitum. This is the shloka. So from Mahabharatam Yaksha Prashnam, we have Rig Yajuhu Sama connection. From Ramayanam Kishkindha Kandam, Rig Yajuhu Sama connection. There through Dharmaraja Yudhishthira, here through Pavanaputra Hanuman. All of this comes in Purusha Suktam, which is Tasmad Yajnat Sarvahutaha. Richasamani Jagnire, Chandagumsi Jagnire Tasmat. So 3 mantras are over. How many over till now? 8, 1, 2. Now 9, 10, 11. Let's go to the 12th one finally. Namaskara Mastikas. I'm tentatively scheduled to travel to 7 cities in the countries of Australia and New Zealand, namely Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Auckland and Wellington between the 25th of February and the 25th of March. And later, I'll be rendering discourses in New Jersey, Boston, Maryland, Pittsburgh, and then in St. Louis and Indianapolis in the month of July. I'm sure you would love to share this message with your friends and relatives.
Dear Astika reader, I'm happy to be authoring a two-part book on the Ramayana in English. The first part is slated for release in the year 2024. The book aims to recreate and retell the Ramayana of Valmiki, conforming to the ancient commentaries and other allied literature. To receive notifications of the book release, kindly register with www.deshikadaya.org/books. Namaskaram.